Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Piyush Patel, who's the author of Lead Your Tribe, Love Your Work. Welcome to the program, Piyush.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, so give us a little background on yourself and about your consulting, coaching, and writing and speaking, and then what led you to write this book, Lead Your Tribe, Love Your Work.
Well, I was a sixth grade science teacher turned entrepreneur, and
Ooh, I love that.
Started a technology business on the side with $54. And we grew that to a global audience, $10 million in revenue, and then had an acquisition of $45 million. And we did that without debt or investors. So truly living the American dream of being a bootstrapped startup guy. And so, we had a tech company for 14 years. And in those 14 years, we had 42 full-time employees, and we only turned over 12 people.
Wow.
And in tech, that is just unheard of.
Yeah.
And after I sold the company, I was like, what am I going to do next? And when I would tell people about our company and our culture, they would just look at me like I'm from another planet. And a lot of them were like, you've got to go teach people how to do this. And so that was really the genesis of the book, and really documenting the practices and some of the stories of how to build a culture that matters.
It's interesting. You could have just high-fived everyone and gone off in the sunset and said rock and roll and I'm good to go. But you did something interesting, which is you started noticing some anomalies, really, like you mentioned in the market. Not many people have that kind of retention. And then at that point, you started like backtracking, doing what Stephen Covey said, start with the end in mind and then move backwards. So if that was the case, what was it that caused that retention and culture? And so how long did it take you, once you kind of had that thought, how long did it take you to kind of backtrack your work and go, well, we were just kind of heads down doing it, and we just kind of did it well, but here now is the template and the blueprint?
It took us 6 years of the company just to even figure out who we are. And I think that's probably the hardest thing for organizations is when I talk with people now, I'll ask them, hey, tell me about your culture. And it's surprising that so many go, we don't have one. And I just giggle. I'm like, oh, you have one. You may not have won it, and you may not have said it, but you surely have one.
Yes.
So for us, it took us 6 years to really dial into who are we, what are we going to stand for, what are we not going to stand for. And then we really just started treating people like people and not like assets and not like just employees to go punch a clock. We got to solve really hard problems. You can't do that if you don't have trust in the people that you work with. And so we developed this thing called BAM, and that's been the basis of pretty much everything in my life. And really that was the end in mind. Like, how did we get to this point of creating BAM? And for us, BAM stands for belonging, affirmation, and meaning. How did we get to this point where everything we talk about is BAM? And so then we went back and said, okay, this is where it started. It started on my wife and I went to a bed and breakfast, and we decided that having the company was a lot more work than we thought it would be. It was nothing that we signed up to do. And the pressure of all these mortgages and payroll is starting to really have an effect on our happiness. And so we both said, okay, so what are we going to stand for? Why are we not happy? And that's really where we came up with our core values.
It's interesting. I love the BAM because I think that, and I think you have another one as well. I was noticing on your website, Grow. Maybe we can touch on that as well. But sure. Belonging reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
It totally is. So everybody can get a job that will give you shelter, safety, food, right? Those bottom two pieces of the pyramid, you can get it working pretty much any job, and you can hate it too. Yeah. So you'll be able to feed your family, have a roof, and safety comes in the form of health insurance or retirement, somebody take care of me. After that, people really want to belong to something bigger than themselves. They want to be affirmed, and they want meaning. So, like for affirmation, it's not just about a daily good job, good job, good job. It's also when you're not doing well. So I have a 15-year-old son. We don't do annual performance reviews for my 15-year-old son. Mm-hmm. I don't want to wait till July to go, now, son, in January, 12th, you left the bathroom in a disarray. Like, well, why do we do that with our employees? It just doesn't make sense.
I think your son knows my son.
Right? So,
but you're exactly right. You've got to have that moment by moment, and it can't be in the heat of the moment, because if that were the case, we would, in all our humanity, maybe be a little terse. So I think that's a really good point, because when I see the word affirmation, it's not because so many times an employer, the CEO is hard driving, and they see the end of the line, and they see the things that are impeding that, and they snap and make snap judgments, and it's hard to do that positive affirmation. But as we know, I think someone just almost has to see it to kind of go, I got it. But when you can say to someone, whether an employee or a human, you know what, I noticed this about you, that sure was awesome. It's almost like they stand up straighter, brighten up, and then they strive and almost sprint to go do it again and again and again and even better. And I think that that's a truth. We know that, but it's so hard to finally get our mindset into that, to constantly do that affirmation. So that's a really great point that you guys focus on.
So I'm going to give you and your audience a huge takeaway of how we actually do this. And I'll be honest with you, I can't walk around every day, all day, looking for glimpses of affirmation. Mm-hmm. So we developed a thing called the 3 Happies. And the way this works is everybody at 9 o'clock in the morning has a Post-it note. And on the Post-it note, you write your name in the top left, the date in the top right, and then two things at work in the last 24 hours that made you happy, and one personal in the last 24 hours. And then teams get together at 9:15 on the dot, and they literally spend about 4 minutes total sharing their 3 Happies. They collect them, and we put them up near the bathroom, so it's kind of a semi-private public place. Now, here's what happens, Mike. It's pretty fascinating. Each person gets to share something about their work that brings them belonging, affirmation, or meaning, and something personal. So we start to see each other as real people and not just assets. If you do that,
is there anything with those 3 Happies that are pointing out and recognizing something a coworker did in a positive, good way? Good.
Oh, I mean, if you say, hey, one of my Happies yesterday was I got the deal that I've been working on for a week, and then I also got published on this website. Well, now, there's your lunchtime conversation. Oh, tell me about that article. Tell me about the deal you've been working on, right? Because that was what was important. Now, as a leader, here's what I look at. I quickly scan every morning name and date. So I quickly look at all of them. Name, date, name, date, name, date. And I'm looking for the anomaly of date, name. And so I peel that off. It's like, okay, Mike, we need, or Dan or whoever we're going to talk. I need to go talk to them and go, hey, I saw that you are starting to watch. Are you excited about Walking Dead coming back on? We love Walking Dead, too. We watch it all the time. Hey, I did notice, though, on your ticket, you wrote date and name. It's the other way. We write our name first and then the date. What does that tell you, right? That shows you, look, the boss cares. The details matter. He read my ticket. He must read them every day.
Yeah.
And so I try to catch that at 9:20 in the morning, which if you're making a simple mistake like that at 9:20, your head's not in the game, right? Yep. And it's usually something like, oh, I was running late this morning, or my kid spilled the milk, and now it helps them get refocused. Hey, details matter.
And here's another thing. The name that pops into my mind is Tom Peters. So this concept might not be attributed to him, so it might be just a disconnect in my brain. But manage by walking around. Yep. Have you ever heard of that?
I have.
So do you know who that is attributed to? Is it Tom Peters?
I think it is Tom Peters.
So let's assume for the moment it is. But the point is, managers and CEOs should manage by walking around and not be stuck behind a computer or whatever. And so you walk around and what? You smile and say, So your 3 happies gives you the easy fuel to talk about while you manage while walking around. What a perfect thing. Not complaint board, and I'm going to go at 9:20 and look at that, and then manage by walking around to go, hey, look at what you did wrong yesterday, which I'll guarantee in some places that happens. But you are fostering that feeling really in your office where everyone's starting the day with 3 happies. I mean, from a personal development standpoint, we should all do that every day. Every morning we start off what happened good yesterday or whatnot. Yep. So you're then giving yourself kind of like a leg up for what you should be talking to the team about anyway. What else are you going to talk about? Oh, hey, I noticed you did this, or this made you happy, or I noticed someone said this about you. Good job. I think that's just ingenious.
Yeah. And really,
so here's a question.
Conflict. Go ahead.
What's that?
Well, I was going to say that's why we developed the GROW model to handle conflict. It's not.
But how? Real easy, so in your whole 14, 15 years or whatnot, at what point did you start doing this? Was this a slow progression, or is this something you noticed that you guys did just as a matter of course?
Like I said, I was a 6th grade science teacher, so I had this idea that entrepreneurs and CEOs had to act a certain way and behave a certain way. And that ruse lasted about 5 or 6 years before I was like, no, we just got to be good teachers and good people, right? People don't want to work for a, quote, CEO. They want to work for a good person. And so these things are developed literally out of a classroom, right? Just how do you manage, 32 kids who are all different, but you have one common goal, which is to get that material taught.
Yep.
Businesses are no different. I had 42, very diverse, different people, and I had 500 contractors all around the world. How do we all work together to make one thing?
I mean, it's the simplicity of, I was a 6th grade science teacher, and I started, getting out of my own head of what CEOs should do and going, how did I do it back in the day? And sometimes it's that just simple approach, the blocking and tackling, as they say, just get down to basics. And it really does matter. So now here's a question. When someone goes, okay, I know I got to, if I might not have a culture, but in not having a culture, I have a culture because it's a culture by default, or it's one by accident. So if I want to start, going proactively to develop my culture, isn't there a chance that it could be maybe contrived, or the employees could be thinking, all right, let's just give that 2 weeks and it'll blow past them, right?
Yep. If it is aspirational, absolutely. If you say, hey, we believe in work-life balance, but you praise people who spend the night and work themselves to death, or we're all about honesty. Now tell every customer, that you need to lie about why we're not going to deliver on time. People see through that. It's okay. Just say, we lie to customers. That's our core value. Trust me, you will attract the right people, A lot of it is because it will be contrived and it will be temporary, because unless the leadership, if it's really them and a reflection of them, then people will buy in.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, right? And it may mean some of your people aren't the right fit because you've hired aspirationally, right, versus in reality.
Yeah, I think, and it's almost like if the management team gets together and says, we're going to move towards this, it's almost like you need to come up with 2 or 3 specific things that you're going to start doing kind of behind the scenes, and then have almost like a reveal meeting and go, hey guys, how many of you have noticed that we've had this happen? Or when this came up, we did it this way, or, whatever, and maybe hands start going up and they go, well, let me tell you something. If we announce some big initiative, potentially you would have thought, yeah, well, let's just see how long that lasts. But we kind of did a soft launch, and we kind of started doing it, and it's already in our ethos and baked into what we started doing. So we want to bring you guys along, and how cool would it be if we can have more of these and have our 3 happies and pointing out, good things and things like that. I think that it's interesting. I guess you've got to know your own people and see how they would respond. You might have another organization that the minute a good idea comes up, they're like, we're in, let's roll.
Yeah. You just got to, I guess, to figure out what that pushback is.
Yep.
But you got to live it. You got to live it. And I'm a big believer, if you want to build a tribe, you got to talk at the campfire. So every single meeting starts off with share a story of something that you saw that exemplifies our core values. And yes, it costs money. You got to spend the money in developing people. But what that allows you to do is pat people on the head and go, God, that is a really good story. And other people in the room go, ooh, that's good. Okay, I'll do that. And it also allows you to go, hey, Joe, you have no idea what that core value means, right? Let's coach.
Right.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you're close. That was a good action there, but boy, if we could have done it this way and got a little bit closer to that core value, it's not like, you were totally wrong, but you're giving them that affirmation, that praise for what they at least attempted. So, yeah, you're exactly right. How about this? When you bring someone new to the team, they bring baggage from other cultures, from other corporate environments. So how do you make sure that they shed that old skin and get integrated well with your own good culture?
It happens before they even step foot on their first day. So about a week and a half to 2 weeks out, we ship them a box. In the box is all of their paperwork. Fill it all out before you show up. We put in T-shirts. We put in swag. We put in a whole book of here's everybody who works for us, and here's their stories. Here's some of our customers, and here's their stories. And then we put an empty photo frame with a note that says, bring a picture of a loved one for your first day. And so that's part of that, bring your backpack from home school thing, right? Like you got to bring something from home so you feel connected to home. Employees are the same way. They show up on their first day. There's a lot of doubt, a lot of fear. It's hard when I say leave your baggage at home. No way. That baggage is safe. I got to give them new baggage to carry. So that's before they even show up. So when they show up, they're dressed the part. They're already wearing the T-shirt. They're already feeling like they belong to something. And then it's all about training. So the first day I spent with every employee. So, I'm the first person you see when you walk in. I'm waiting for you. And then we're going to have lunch together, and then I hand you off. I want you to hear why we're doing this. I want you to hear, how does our business run? I'm not going to talk about your tasks. I'm going to talk about what do we do on this planet to make an impact, and how important your new role is going to be in helping us do that. I give you the tour. I introduce you to everybody. And so now you and I will have a rapport already from day one. And it's not just, hey, is that the boss? He kind of comes and goes. Now, I'm super busy, but my admin would always schedule new hires knowing on a Monday morning when I was going to be there. Then they have lunch with me, and then that afternoon they spend time with their team. It's not about here's your email, here's your login, get to work. Again, it's about this is what we do. This is the role we play in this organization. This is the role you're going to play. And then we give them a spreadsheet that has 3 simple questions. Walk around to everybody in the organization, find out their name, find out what they do, and ask 3 simple questions. Favorite memory at work, favorite food, and why you come to work. Now, the favorite food is a throwaway. It could be anything. It could be favorite sports team, favorite movie, it doesn't matter. But the first question is really dialing into what creates belonging here in this organization. And the why you come to work, it's typically 99% of the time the people. And so on day 1, I've already said, your bags don't belong here. We're going to fill them with all new memories and new ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And if I wouldn't have done that, you're going to bring your bags because you have nothing else to carry.
What's interesting is you could have taken all your employees' stories, put them in a, 12-page manual and handed that to the new hire and said, read them. And guess what would have happened? They'd have scanned it, glanced at it, and been like, that's nice. But now you're getting them engaged. And of course, with learning, the more senses you have involved with, they're walking around, they're talking, they're seeing, they're shaking hands, touching. And now all of that is becoming more real and integrated rather than just reading it on a piece of paper.
That's right. And this would go on for 30 days. So I have a small volunteer group of people in the organization called the Navigators. And it's their job to create structure in meeting new people, go into different lunches. They have a game night. They'll take them out for happy hour one week. So it's, it's not every day, but there's 5 or 6 touch points through the 30 days. And then I meet with the Navigator team and go, is this person the right fit? Mm-hmm. And we all have a conversation that, hey, you're going to work for us for 30 days. And then we're going to have a conversation of should we get married or not? Because, I don't want to fall in love with you and then it's just not the right fit. So it's both ways. Are you the right fit, and are we the right fit?
Amazing. Well, I think, this is just chock full of great information. So I would like to wrap up with, number one, thanking you for your time. But number two, how can people learn more about both your book as well as your organization?
So we've got a fun website called leadlovetribe.com. And if they get on the website, the book is going to be released February 6th all over the United States and Europe, and just reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation.
Excellent. Well, Piyush, thank you so much. It's just been wonderful getting to know you, and I love you talk to people that say, here's a great idea for culture, but these are actionable tactics that make sense. And I think there's too many times people may talk about strategies and ideas that just sound good but never get done. But I think that listeners can take away minimum 3-4 different ideas here that are easily actionable, that don't cost a lot of money or time. But I just love how that came together. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.